So, hello everybody. Welcome to this February meeting of the Open edX community. The first, since this is the first meetup of the year, I hope you all had a great start already into 2025. And yeah, it is my honor to introduce today's first meetup speaker, Jenna Majkowski from Axum Collaborative. She will be presenting the new Sumac release, and I also want to use this time slot and give an exciting news. It is that we have already deployed the new Sumac release on the public Open edX sandbox. So this is now your chance to get hands-on with the latest innovations, features, and enhancement in the Open edX platform. And yeah, don't hesitate to explore everything on the sandbox. We will post, of course, link in the chat, and hope you will enjoy. And of course, we would also be happy if you can share then the feedback somehow you are while exploring the Sumac release. But now I will hand over to Jenna, who will be presenting the news and features, the new features of the Sumac release. So enjoy.
Thank you, Nicole. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. And can everybody see my screen? You should be seeing the Open edX documentation site to start.
Yes.
Okay, great. So like Nicole mentioned, we are now officially on the Sumac release for the Open edX platform. Sumac launched back in December, and I just want to start by saying a huge congratulations, and a round of virtual applause to everybody who was involved in that release process, especially the folks in the BTR working group, the folks who did testing of the sandbox and of the new features. Before we launched. This was a great effort by everybody involved, and so this is a true community endeavor to get these community releases out the door. So Sumac has been live for the last 6 weeks now at this point. I would like to also put a call out if anybody in the meeting is actually using Sumac or has customers already using Sumac. I'd love to hear from you. We have a number of pretty big features that were included in Sumac, which I'll be talking about in detail. And we'd love to start getting customer input on these features since they're still early stages. We have a lot more phased release plans with some of these features, and we'd love to get folks' input as we're building them. So I'm actually going to spend most of today doing a demo of some of these new features, but I wanted to start before that. I wanted to make everybody aware of the Open edX documentation site. Starting in Redwood, which was 2 releases ago, we started to make some changes and what I think are pretty big improvements and enhancements to the release notes process. So in the past, we would sort of use the blog as the place to advertise new features, and we still do that, but we thought it was really important to have a central place for product release notes and product documentation alongside developer documentation that could be easily accessible and that could give folks a good idea of what the new features in each release are. And so I'll drop this link in the chat afterwards for folks to access, but it's super easy. docs.openedx.org is the URL. And you can see here this section, we have an open source community space. And this is where all of the release notes for each release are stored and archived. So if you click on the current release Sumac, this is the kind of the landing page for all of the Sumac release notes. And you can see here that we are now separating out product release notes from developer and operator release notes. We recognize that there are 2 different audiences and 2 different kind of sets of needs when it comes to the information that you want related to the releases. And so under the product release notes space, we have a page for every major new feature that's included in the release. So just to give you an example of what that looks like here, the biggest kind of marquee feature for Sumac is the new Content Libraries feature. This is still in beta, but it is fully functional and up and running. The release notes all have kind of a similar template. We've got an overview of what the new feature is. We have a definition of the scope. We have some use cases and ways that you can use the feature, new functionality and changes. And these notes are meant to help you communicate with your customers and with your clients the value proposition of these features and what they can do with them. I'm going to be talking in detail about libraries, so I'll come back to this one in a moment. But just to highlight some of the other key features that are included in Sumac, we did quite a bit of work on the front end functionality, so making it easier to customize using front end slots. So it's now possible to customize the site header using slots. So to give you an example here, it's possible to customize the drop-down menu in the profile section. It's possible to add custom components to some of these header slots. You can look at those notes if you're interested in learning more in detail. We have some pretty big updates to the Aspects project, the Aspects data and analytics site. So we have a new course comparison dashboard. So these are the product release notes for that. It's now possible to compare courses and course runs using Aspects. It's possible to do things like looking for low enrollments, looking for trends in activity in learners. There's a bunch of screenshots in here. We also made a couple of updates to the Sidebar navigation project. Those are a little bit more minor, so I won't go into too much detail there. But what my point here is I just wanted to make everybody aware of the product release space. Please use these notes to create your own marketing materials, to create your own customer outreach. That's what they're there for. And if you'd like any, if you wanted to tap any of the product managers who are writing the notes or who are driving the features, please feel free to reach out and I'm happy to connect you. The feature that I wanted to do a deep dive on today and a demo of is the new Content Libraries Redesign feature. This is a pretty major investment that we've made in the platform. We've had a number of different organizations involved in getting this project over the line, including OpenCraft, Raccoon Gang, and others. And so again, a huge thanks to everyone who's been involved in this. Content libraries, the big kind of announcement here is that libraries is an entirely new experience. And I'm actually going to go into the platform in a moment to show you what it looks like in a live demo, but just to kind of give an overview of why this is important. So we've completely redesigned content libraries, and the goal for content libraries is to make them a space where it is much more flexible and efficient to create content and to reuse and share content. So one of the biggest pain points that we've heard from folks using the platform over many years now is that it's not very easy to reuse content. If I want to create a lesson and then use that lesson in different courses, I have to recreate that lesson every time I want to do that. I'd much rather be able to create that content once and then sync it out to different courses. And with the new library experience, it's possible to do all of that. So included in the new libraries space is a huge overhaul of the design. The schema has been driving the new design for this, so a huge shout out to Schema for all the work that they've done in terms of redesigning libraries. There's a couple of key changes with this new libraries feature compared to the legacy libraries, and I want to highlight those really quick before I go into the demo. So with the old libraries feature, with the legacy libraries feature, you basically had to create a new library every time you wanted to do something different. So every time you wanted to, and they were also you could only use libraries to randomize content. So it was a very limited use of the feature. The big shift now is that we're moving from many libraries to one or maybe to a few. So it's possible if you just wanted to create one library per course, or like one library per subject, or one library per, lots of courses. It's now easy to do that and easy to manage your content. And I'll show you what that looks like. So that's one major change, is that you no longer have to create like hundreds and hundreds of libraries to support your needs. It's now also possible to reuse content easily and to sync changes to content in all of its local reuse instances. So it's now possible that you can reuse individual problems, individual videos, individual text blocks, and then later on units and subsections, which I'll talk about. It's easy to update that content centrally and then sync out those changes. If you wanted to, reuse that piece of content in 50 courses, you could make that update once and then send out those changes once, and not have to redo that piece of content 50 times. So in the release notes, I have a bunch of examples here, ways that you can use the new libraries feature. I won't go into that at the moment because I'd actually like to just show you what this looks like here in real life. So this is Sumac Home. So you can see here we have a new libraries tab. Like I mentioned, this is still a beta feature. We're going to be doing phased incremental releases and improvements to libraries upcoming in Teak as well as in Alma. So this is a large multi-release project. We still have, just a note as well, legacy libraries are still fully functional. It's possible to use one, it's possible to use both. We will be communicating a deprecation plan for legacy libraries as well as a migration plan soon. We wanted to focus on getting the beta feature up and running first. So this is what the new library page looks like. So the idea here is that a digital library functions kind of like a real life library. This is a place for you to hold and manage a lot of your content. So we've kind of structured it like a content database. So I've created this library to support, this is actually a course, a sample course that we have, and these are all of the assessments and some of the content that is in this course that could also be reused in other courses. But the idea here is that there's a bunch of content within this library. It's possible to search for content. Like if I wanted to search, for example, all of my formative assessments, I could do that search. Searches are done based on keywords that appear in the titles and in the descriptions of the content itself. It's possible to do a lot of different kinds of filtering and sorting. So if you wanted to look by type, at the moment there's only problems in here. I'm going to show you how to add other content types as well. There's a lot of different ways to sort. So if I wanted to sort by title, for example, put things in alphabetical order. If I wanted to sort by newest to oldest, I could do that as well. Libraries also support the new tagging feature, which I'll show you how that works here in a moment. So the idea is that you can create new content directly in libraries, and all of this content is completely independent from courses. So if I click here at Create New, so with the new beta version, libraries support text blocks, the Kappa problem types, and videos. In the future, libraries will also support units, so you can create like full lessons if you want to. That'll be coming in Teak. But for now, just as an example, I want to create a new text block. So I create a new text block. The editing experience here is the same experience that you get in the course. So we have the exact same editors. There's no learning curve or anything in terms of being able to create content. So I'm going to say, this is my new text block. Again, all of the features that exist in the regular editor in Studio also exist here. But just for time purposes here, I'm just going to save this new text block. And here it is. This is now a new piece of content in my library. So I can do the same thing for problem types. So here, if I want to create a single select problem, just as an example, colors the sky. And again, this is the same problem editor that also exists in the Studio experience, just for the sake of demo here. So here's my new problem type. And here it is. I've just created this new problem type. Same thing with video. I can create a video. I'm not going to go through the whole process here, but same thing as in Studio. A couple of the features of the library homepage here. So I have all this content. If I click on a tile here, I get this sidebar experience, and there's a couple of things I can do here in terms of managing my content. The first thing I see here is a preview. So this is the problem itself. I can expand this. Like if I have more complex problem types, I can expand and see what that looks like. I can also go directly into the editor if I wanted to edit or change anything in this problem. Under the Manage tab, we have the same tagging capabilities that we added to Studio back in Redwood. So there's a couple of different taxonomies and sets of tags that are supported here. So if I wanted to tag this for assessment type, which is one of the types here, maybe I would want to say this is like a formative assessment, so I could add that tag. That tag is now added. We have an instructional design taxonomy if that happens to be the subject that is being taught. Maybe this is the topic system change proposal. I can add that tag. I hit save. And now this problem has had those tags added to it. So this is a really helpful feature for aligning content to particular skills or competencies taxonomies. The platform will support any third-party taxonomy or set of tags that you would like to use. There's also, you can check the release notes, there's a separate tagging feature that we released in Redwood that will let you add tags. But the big unlock here is being able to align your content to particular skills or competencies, taxonomies, or subjects, or however you'd like to organize your content. It's now possible with tagging. And then the details tab. This is still very basic. We're going to be building this out over time, but you can see a little bit of metadata about the content. So this content was created today, just a couple minutes ago. It was when it was last modified. Component usage is something we'll be building out in the future, so it will be possible to track all of the courses where this content is used. And this is an area I think where we can really get some pull in some of the robust data that is now being tracked in aspects in terms of being able to track engagement and other types of usage data across content types. So that will be coming soon. A couple things I wanted point out as well. So libraries now has a publishing lifecycle. This is important because of the new reuse functionality. So if I want to publish this component, this is now published. Once it is published, it's ready for reuse in courses, which I'll show in a moment. One other big new thing with libraries that I wanted to highlight is we have this new thing called collections. So collections are, again, kind of like a real life library. When you walk into a library, in real life, like a building, there is maybe the section of history books, and there's like a whole set of like shelves that contain the history books, or there is a set of shelves that have the business books, or so on, the psychology books. You can do the same thing kind of conceptually with libraries by creating a collection. So the idea is that a collection, you can put content from within that library. Maybe it's like for a specific course. So this particular collection contains all of the formative and summative assessments for this course. So if I click on this collection and open it, here are the 5 assessments that support this particular course that I wanted to put into a collection. Just to kind of show you what this process looks like in my library. If I wanted to, let me go back here. I can create a new collection from scratch. So I come here, I create a collection, let's call it my new collection, give it a description. And now I can add content to my collection. I have 2 ways to do this. I can either go through and create something brand new. So this is my new text block. I'll save that. And now that text block is part of my collection. It is also in the larger library. So it is possible to put pieces of content in many collections. One problem can go in 6 collections if that's what you need. I can also, if I go back to my homepage, for example, if say I wanted this video to go in my collection, I could simply add it to my collection. Here are my collections down here. I click add it to my new collection, confirm, and now that piece of content is in that collection as well. So there's a couple different ways that you can kind of manage your content via collections. So that's a quick overview of the library interface. The other side of the story is being able to use all of this content in a course. And so let me show you what that looks like. So if I go into a course, I've already got one open here just to save time. So this is a course. You can see here is the course outline page. I'm just going to go down to this kind of demo section. I'm going to go let's create a new unit and do this here from scratch. So I'll give this a moment to populate. A little slow this morning. Here we go. So you can see here under the workflow to add new content, there's 2 brand new tiles. And this aligns to the new reuse workflows. So they're both labeled with beta, so they're very easy to see. So I can use my library content, or I can create a problem bank, which I'll talk about here in a moment. So the first workflow is to create or to add content from my library. So if I click create library content, here are my libraries. I can quickly either search for a library if I have many of them, or I can just see what they are. I'm going to choose this one that I've been working in. And now I have a modal, so I'm still in my course, right? I'm still in the course outline page, but this is now the same search experience in the library I can use to find what I want to pull into my course. So you can see here, I can either do like a search for something if I wanted to find maybe all of the formative assessments, or if I wanted to like filter by tag, I could do that. Maybe I wanted to find the content that's about advocacy. Here it is. And it's a simple add button. I click add. It's adding. And now here it is. Here's this same problem now in my course. If I wanted to, like, say this problem was being used in 50 different courses. If I'm back here in my library and I make a change to it, so say I edit this problem type and say maybe I actually only want to give my learners two answer responses here. I'm going to just delete this one and click save. Now, again, with the new publish workflow, I have to publish this again before those changes will sync anywhere. So now it's published. I go back to my unit. I do have to refresh. This is something that will, hopefully with an enhancement with the new MFE, we'll be able to work around. Now I can see that there's an update available to this problem. I click update available. I can toggle between the old version and the new version so I can see what has changed. So here in the old version, I had 3 potential answers. In this new version, I only have 2. And I can make the decision to accept the changes or ignore the changes. Here, I'm going to accept the changes. And that's that. In Teak, we have an improvement. We're actually going to be creating like a separate page in the course. Will be under the content page, will be a library sync page. So you can see all of your library content in one page and see all of the updates that you might want to sync in one place. So that enhancement is coming in Teak. The other thing I wanted to show quickly here at the end is the new problem bank. So problem bank is the response for being, for us to be able to continue the randomization workflow. So randomizing means, I want to create a problem or an assessment for learners, and I want to have, 50 potential problems that would be part of that assessment, but each learner would get like a random set of 10 problems so that every learner has, potentially a different set of problems that they're answering. So I can create that problem bank here. Again, I click problem bank. This is basically the same, the randomized content block. But here I want to add components from my library to this problem bank. So I click add components. Again, I'm asked to choose my library. So I'm going to choose this library here. And maybe in this case, I actually want to go from my collection. So in my collection, I have, potentially all of the problem types that I want for this assessment. I'm going to say I want all 5 of these problems to be in my bank. Bulk select is another enhancement that we have coming in Teak. But for now, I'm going to select all of the problems that I want in my problem bank, add selected components. It's still adding. There we go. So, and now I have it set so that learners will see 1 out of 5 randomly selected problems. I can change that as well. If I wanted learners to see maybe 2 of the 5, I can do that. We also have some updated UI coming down the road for this as well. But for now, this is the experience. And if I wanted to view what those problems are here, I can do that. Here's my problem bank. I could rename it if I would like. And here are all of the potential problems that the learner would see. Again, I won't, just for time purposes, I won't show it, but the same sync workflow can be used here as well. So I'm looking at the clock. I think we're kind of running up on the end of this time slot. Do folks have questions? Or I'm also, I'll be on one of the rugs at the end of the event. I'm also happy to talk to folks afterwards as well. And again, a huge thanks to Schema Education, to Raccoon Gang, to OpenCraft for kind of collectively driving us to this feature.
Yes, Jenna, thank you for this great talk. It was very, very interesting, very impressive what you showed. I have one question. I posted it in the chat, but have I seen it correctly that I have to accept and or ignore the changes made to the library content wherever I have added that content? So, I mean, um, if I have this content implemented in let's say 50 courses, and I do a change in the library, I still have to run through all the courses where I have implemented this content and accept or deny the change, right?
For right now, yes. I mean, bulk change syncing is something that we
Yeah.
could look at as a future feature, if there's a need for that. I think there's a lot of different use cases in this regard. Like in some cases, there's a need to keep course syncing kind of separate from other courses. But if that is a need that you foresee, I'm happy to talk about getting that as a possible thing to explore on the roadmap.
Okay. Okay. So this will be coming in the next one of the next releases, right?
We could talk about it. It's not
Yeah.
currently on our teak backlog, but we if it's a need, we could certainly explore putting together a backlog ticket for that. But it
Okay.
is not currently planned for teak. I guess I should say what's coming for teak, the next phase
Mhm.
of this release is that libraries will be able to support full unit editing and creation. So currently in Studio in the course authoring experience, the courses are broken into sections, subsections, and units. The
Mhm.
next thing libraries you'll be able to do is actually create a full unit. So you can start to move toward creating like full lessons or full modules within a library that are independent from courses. What will probably follow from that are templates to make it templatized to make it easier to create units at scale. um, and then to be able to reuse those units across multiple courses. So that's what's coming for teak. Beyond teak, looking even to Alma a year out, a little bit more coarse grained, but for Alma, we're hoping to have full subsection and section support as well. So kind of like getting to the point where you can create any kind of content that you want to in a library, super granular videos all the way to full lessons or full learning sequences. We're also working on import. So if you wanted to like import a course that you already have into a library and kind of disaggregate that course content, you can do that to make that easier to reuse. So that's kind of the general arc of the roadmap for the next two releases. Within that, we obviously have a lot of room for enhancements as well. I think we've got quite a few like UI improvements coming down the pike as well, and also things we could explore like bulk syncing if that's of interest as well.
Okay. Yeah. Very, very interesting. So I think we have to switch to the next talk, but if the audience has some questions to Jenna, we can then meet in the unstructured networking time after all speakers have held the talk. And Jenna is on carpet E.
Yes. Well, thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Nicole. Let me introduce the next speaker. Here's Fenil Patel from Axiom Collaborative. He's gonna introduce the community and the audience, the OpenEdX maintenance working group. Hi, Fenil. Welcome to the OpenEdX Meetup, and please go ahead with your presentation.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. I believe you should be able to see my slides now.
Yes.
Great. Hi, my name's Neil Patel, as Esteban said. Yeah, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about platform maintenance and the platform maintenance working group in particular. The group was founded about a year ago now, as sort of a way to start coordinating and organizing a lot of the different maintenance that um, needed to happen in the edX platform. And the group has got kind of a fairly large set of goals. So I've highlighted them here, mostly to do with making sure the repositories, the code base of the OpenEdX system is well maintained, and that the process for having things be maintained or needing to step down from being a maintainer, all of that is fairly easy and clear and straightforward to do. So the working group, which was founded last year, helps coordinate a lot of this work and helps do the discovery for some of this work and helps guide people when they're not sure and helps find maintainers for the repository so that the system can be sort of well maintained and secure. How is that going? So since last year, currently we have about 195 total repositories in the Open edX organization. That is down from 230. So we have significantly reduced the number of repositories. There's a lot of things that were a part of Open edX historically and were not clearly cleaned up. And what ended up happening as a result is that when we needed to do things like major upgrades of like language runtimes or of libraries, we had to review all of these libraries and repositories and say, is this important? Yes, no. Is this important? Yes, no. Is this important? Yes, no. And potentially have to update more code than is necessary. So it took more time and more hours and more people to maintain the system. So reducing the number of repositories is a thing that we're sort of actively working on to reduce the amount of work we do. Of those, 135 now have official maintainers. These are people in our community who have stepped up to help with the maintenance. This is regular system package updates. This is library updates. This is potentially reviewing incoming OSPRs. And essentially being the person responsible if somebody has a random question about some piece of our code base. So these are awesome people who are heroically supporting, not only sort of contributing to these pieces, but helping make sure that they are stewarded so that they stay healthy. This process of finding maintainers is fairly, you might be wondering why it's 69% and not 100%. The process of finding maintainers that both have the necessary knowledge to maintain a piece of software and also the necessary time to maintain a piece of software can be fairly difficult. This has often required a lot of new core contributor nominations. This is finding people in our community who have previously contributed but weren't officially core contributors. You need to be a core contributor to be a maintainer. So it's required, there's a bit of process involved with getting through this, getting through the other side of this. So that's hence there's some nominations in progress. These are people who have said they want to help but don't have yet the necessary sort of catalog or history with a repository or with relevant code bases to be able to take on maintainership responsibly. So they're helping by doing work and showing their caliber and their commitment. And as they do that, they sort of are preparing to become core contributors and maintainers for those repositories. As a part of the work, because there are so many different things, we focus on a couple of smaller things at any given time. Prioritization and coordination of major upgrades is kind of an ongoing high priority item that was really critical over the last year. And with the hard work we've done this past year, we're actually in an amazing place. So we've never had a shortage of things to maintain, and we rarely had the capacity to do all of the maintenance we needed to do. So it was really important to make sure that we prioritize what work needs to be done when. When the team was first founded, there were about 8 different upgrades in progress, as you'll see, of various degrees of like size, some that needed updates across all of those. It was fairly disorganized, and it wasn't clear sort of where people should spend time to sort of maximize their output. So we've done a lot of work in that space. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And then the other space is coordinating major upgrades, which is also a really high touch process. So there's the actual act of making changes to the code, which is important. There's also the process management of making sure that all of the changes are happening in the right order, that all of the places where changes need to happen have owners. following up with developers to make sure things land in a timely fashion. So this project management work can be pretty high touch. It requires sort of a combination of process expertise and also technical expertise to sort of do well. For the upgrades that were targeted to be in the Redwood release, I had done a lot of this initially. Brian Smith led this for the Node upgrade in Sumac, and then Elise Qureshi from Arbisoft and myself will be leading this for the Django 5.2 upgrade that's coming up after the Teak release and before the Ulmo release. So that is the kind of work that happens. So here's a quick view of the kinds of things that means. In Redwood, we upgraded Mongo, we upgraded Python, Node, and a bunch of smaller upgrades that were already in progress. So these are Mongo is one of the databases that is behind the edX platform, and it holds all of our course content today. Python is the language that all of our backend services run on, so keeping that up to date is really important for the security and health of our system. Node.js is what all of our front ends built on top of, so keeping that up to date is really important for our front end security and health. And then a lot of other minor upgrades for libraries that we use, such as React and Jest, etc. So in Redwood and Sumac, we did a lot of these upgrades, but because of all of the effort of the community in this space, we are in a really good place where for Teak, there are no major upgrades planned. We're not about to fall out of support for anything, and we have plenty of time to thoughtfully plan our next couple of major upgrades. So in Ulmo, we're targeting the Django 4.2 to Django 5.2 upgrade and the Node 20 to Node 22 upgrades. So there'll be two major upgrades in Ulmo, none in Teak. And part of the reason for this is that the versions we are moving to don't exist yet. They're going to be released soon, and so we're waiting essentially for our upstreams to catch up. And so we will be moving at a fairly safe clip and staying up to date. The side effect of this is that well-maintained code that's up to date means that all of the features that are available in our upstream systems are available to us as soon as possible. We can take advantage of those as developers to build better systems for our clients and customers and users. With that said, currently the high-level strategy that we're focused on is priority one is finding maintainers, filling that last 31% gap. Always having some maintenance in progress that we can focus on. We've gotten far enough ahead that we don't need to rush anymore, but we know what the next couple of things are. And we're starting to predict sort of further out into the future. And then to reduce the overall maintenance burden, a lot of focus is being put in the next couple months on removing code, because the less code we have, the less code we have to maintain. And we have a lot of duplication right now, especially as a part of the transition from legacy front ends to the new micro front end world. So that's a place that we're going to be focusing on, and the more code that we can remove, the simpler it gets for us to keep these maintenance tasks up to date, the less work it is for everybody to keep everything up to date. And that is all I have. So quick and easy. I can take questions now, or you can find me on one of the rugs afterwards. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Fenil. Let's see if someone has a question. Just give us a second. If not, Fenil's going to be in carpet B after the presentations.
All right, yeah. I'll talk to you guys then. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. So, well, thank you, Fenil. Now let's welcome Ed Sarekor, VP of Engineering of Axim Collaborative. So he's going to share some updates on the OpenEdX Technical Oversight Committee. Ed, please join the carpet area so that everyone can hear you.
Everyone can hear me now, I think. Yeah.
Yes, we can hear you. We can see your screen.
Excellent. When you share your screen, it kind of makes it hard to get back to the carpet view so you can see how to navigate, but I think I figured it out.
Great.
Hello, everyone. Very excited to be here today to talk to you about the Technical Oversight Committee and to give some really, really important and timely updates about that group that is kind of at the core of the Open edX project. So what I'm going to talk about today are kind of three things. I will kind of revisit some of the details about the formation of the Technical Oversight Committee very quickly, talk about the role that that group plays in the project kind of on a day-to-day basis. And then I'm going to talk about some changes that we've recently made to the charter for the TOC and the kind of opening up of the possibility of adding additional members to the organization, and talk a little bit about why that's important and what it means. So let's jump right in. Just as a reminder, the Technical Oversight Committee was created in 2021 when control of the Open edX project transitioned from edX to Axum Collaborative, the new nonprofit that was founded to steward the project, but is also committed to expanding equitable access to high quality education around the world, and especially to folks who have historically or systematically been excluded from those opportunities. And a big part of the purpose of the DOC was to immediately make more inclusive access to leadership of the Open edX project available to members of the community. So one of the very first things that was done at the time of the creation of the TOC was to create 3 seats that are elected from the community. We have, originally that was every year. We've changed that based on some feedback to be every 2 years to give folks more of an opportunity to make a substantive contribution and spend less time kind of working on campaigning and transitions and all of these other things. So community members, 3 seats. Our current members in those roles are folks that have been longtime contributors to the project: Xavier Antoviac, Regis Béamo, and Ignacio Despejol. And if you want more details about the membership currently of the TOC, that is available on the Open edX website. Okay, the role of the TOC, well, currently we have 9 members, but the key details of the TOC's role are that it's responsible for governing the overall technical direction of the project and ensuring that that direction is consistent with fulfilling the nonprofit mission of Axum Collaborative. So making sure that we have a technical vision and a strategy for reaching the market with our platform that's aligned with our mission and values. So that's kind of a key aspect of the group's role. It is not a group that can be involved in the day-to-day decisions of the project. We have working groups that are better placed. They're closer to the real important information and more involved in the day-to-day. They are best placed to make kind of most decisions. The TOC is specifically a resource for advice about overall direction and focusing on decisions that are really hard to reverse. For example, if we were to make a decision about the architecture of the project that pushed us in one specific direction and was hard to change, that is a place where the TOC would definitely be involved in facilitating, making recommendations, and ultimately arbitrating what that decision should be. If there are cases when the community was having difficulty reaching consensus, then the TOC can also be a resource in those cases to come in and help us get to a decision that best serves the majority of members of the community. Current places where the group has been focused over the last quarter to 6 months are helping to develop and pressure test the overall architectural vision, which has been presented in a number of forums over the last quarter or so, or 2 quarters. That That architectural vision will become an update to OEPs that will be published, so the community will have a chance to review it and to provide additional feedback, but there's already been quite a lot of feedback and review and iteration on the architectural vision. The TOC has been involved in reviewing some go-to-market recommendations that Axum has been developing with some consultants to think about how to best place the project in the market so that we have a robust ecosystem where providers have access to business that is aligned with our mission and impact goals. And finally, the TOC has been involved in helping to kind of execute on the sustainability strategy for the open source project. You may have seen some of the work that Xavier has been driving related to providers being involved in maintenance. Eden Huthmacher from Axum has also been very much involved in that work, but that's critical work to ensure that our project structure and ecosystem is healthy and vibrant and supporting the project that we all rely on. Now I want to focus on what I think is the most exciting part of this presentation, which is a discussion of the recent changes to the membership structure of the Technical Oversight Committee. These were announced in the Open edX website on the blog. I know that there was already a question in chat about whether you could subscribe to the blog, so I realize folks don't necessarily follow every single blog post, but I would encourage you to check in periodically because there's a lot of really amazing content that gets posted over there. But the gist of this change, so the two links you see here, the top one, and I'll share this afterwards, the top link is a link to the redlined version of the charter that will let you see specifically the language of the changes that were made. And the bottom link is just back to the blog announcement that is available on the Open edX website. And one of the critical things that happened during this change was to introduce a new concept to the TOC that we're calling mission-aligned organizations. And I'll go through what that means, but effectively what we are doing here is creating 3 additional seats for organizations that share a commitment to the same mission that Axum Collaborative has around expanding access to high quality education, and especially to folks who have been historically or systematically excluded from those opportunities. And in exchange for their participation, we have specific requirements in terms of ongoing commitment to the project. So I'll talk through, these are captured in the charter, but I wanted to talk through them with all of you, and we can we'll have an opportunity to ask any additional questions you have on Carpet C after this presentation. So to start, in order to be considered a mission-aligned organization for the purposes of the Technical Oversight Committee, your organization needs to have extensive experience using the Open edX platform, meaning that you are using the platform today to deliver courses to users. The organization should have demonstrable and very interesting experience in online learning and higher education. And again, have a mission focus that is focused on solving access problems, not just access problems, but also ensuring that access leads to outcomes for learners. We have a high commitment to taking that next step, the step that we call it MOOCs 3.0 or whatever you want to call it. We realize access is important, but it's only the first step in actually having measurable impact on the lives of learners. And finally, in some ways, most importantly, the mission-aligned organization that has access to the TOC needs to have both the willingness and the ability to contribute substantive resources to the project on an ongoing basis. And we've defined that initially as 10 or more full-time staff dedicated to the Open edX project on an ongoing basis. So that means that your status as a mission-aligned organization would depend upon that commitment existing and being maintained over time. You know, if the commitment flagged in future years, then the mission-aligned organization status would change, and then participation in the TOC would also change as a result of that. And then finally, this is just administrativa. They need to meet the other criteria that are described in the rest of the charter. This text is more or less pulled directly from the redline version of the charter that's linked above. There are some important details I want to cover. In terms of identifying potential mission-aligned organizations, that is called out in the charter as Axiom Collaborative's responsibility. We will recommend or nominate organizations as mission-aligned organizations to the TOC. The TOC reviews those nominations, the existing members of the TOC, and approvals are made via the standard TOC decision-making process. That is also defined in the existing charter. So if you're curious about the specifics of that, that's available there. All right. And then maybe the $50,000 question is, when do we expect to add, like this is all nice in theory, but when do we expect to add mission-aligned organizations to the TOC? And the answer, I can't give you an exact date, but I will tell you it is anticipated that this will happen very soon. Again, we said we capped the number at 3 for now. If this ends up being a wildly successful way of scaling the ecosystem and getting more people involved, we will potentially revisit that. But for now, it's only 3. We expect, again, the first announcement. I would say, I don't want to jinx it, but let's call it within a week. When that happens, we'll make announcements via all of our normal social media channels, the blog. There will actually be a press release that will come out at that time. So we expect that it will be covered in some of the kind of the higher education press channels and other places, potentially like the Phil Hill blog or others. We'll see. And when that announcement comes out, I hope that each of you will help us amplify the message. We think that this opportunity for organizations that are getting value from the platform to join with us and accelerate the innovation and advancement of the platform is a really exciting win-win for everyone involved. So we definitely want to identify other potential organizations to join in this capacity. And that is all that I have. I, again, will be on carpet C, but also happy to take some questions now if folks want to ask them.
Okay, so thank you, Ed, for your presentation. Please, anyone has any questions or comments, you can add them in the room chat. And if not, well, you can meet Ed and Neil and Jenna in the main room. There will be different carpet areas, and feel free to reach out to them. So if we don't have any questions, yes, sorry, Ed.
I was just going to say I posted a link to the presentation in the chat. So if you want to grab that, please do.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that. So if there are no questions now, I want to thank everyone for being here. And well, feel free to reach out to the speakers or other attendees in the other room. And hope to see you in the next meetup. We will have 30 more minutes on the main room. And thank you again for being here.